is one thing you can do every day that will positively impact your happiness and well-being? Well, there's a new study that just came out that reveals some really interesting things that they found about what creates happiness and well-being. And one thing you can do is super, super easy, and a lot of us never do it. One thing you can do every day to increase your sense of well-being. So we're going to talk about that today. My name is Mindy Odlin. Welcome to What If Wednesday. I am the founder of the What If Up Club and the author of the book, What If It All Goes Right? And I am joined today by my very special guest, Andi Watson. Hi, Andi. Welcome.
Hi, Mindy. Thank
Thanks for
you.
being here. So I brought Andi along so that we could talk about this study together because Andi is a networker. She is an entrepreneur. She is a connector. She is a helper. She helps people get what they want. And she also is a leader in our What If Up movement. So she leads a What If Circle that meets locally in Brazoria, Texas. And you've been meeting for your longest running What If Circle. So that's very exciting. And the things that you're doing through that circle really tie in to what this study was all about. So, Andi, thanks for being here just to chat about this and what you see in practical application and sort of mapping that to what this new study finds. So to start out, for those of you who are new to our community, who are like, what is a what if circle? Andi, talk a little bit about what it is and what drew you to it, why you decided to start a what if circle in your area.
Well, a what if circle is when a group of people gather in the same area. We have a circle, and we use the what if up process to generate possibility ideas. So we kind of blow the roof off of what we thought was possible, and we expand with conscious co-creation with each other. More possibility in the world.
Yeah. And you meet every week pretty much. I know you've had, times where you're in and out, but pretty much every week you're meeting and gathering locally in your community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have met every week, well, nearly every week for almost a year and a half. And our church specifically, and it kind of came up really organically because our church was a little unity church in Brazoria, Texas. It's the little unity that could. It's unity of Brazosport. And we were just going through COVID. And so we didn't have the connection that we normally did. We had gone through that. And so we were a little bit we were a little disorganized, and we needed to come back together and dream again. And so we wanted to vision, and so that was how we needed a visioning, and we had a visioning meeting, and I was just so happened I was part of this new what if up thing, and we put the two together and we started a circle, and it's amazing the things that have come. I can't believe all of the things that have happened in the past year and a half for each of us in the circle individually, and for our church and for our community.
Oh, that's fabulous. So we're going to talk about, in this study in particular, is talking about personal well-being and personal happiness, and all the other things that ripple out from that are like icing on the cake. So here's what the study found. In this study, it came from the University of Kansas. Let's see, University of Kansas. Jeffrey Hall wrote this study. He is a professor of communication studies there. He is a friendship expert. And what he did was he has these 7 types of conversation that he calls healthy conversation. And the idea is that the hypothesis is healthy conversation leads to greater happiness and well-being. So that's what he wanted to study. And the way he studied it was he took these 900 students from 5 different campuses, and he had them spend a day on one of these 7 things. And I'm going to walk through what the 7 are. And Andi, I'd love to hear like how you find each of the 7, if they exist in your group, but do those types of conversations happen in your group? So I'm going to share with you what those 7 different conversation styles are. And then I'll share with you what he found after giving these students this assignment. So they had to take one of them over the course of a day, like to take action. And then at the end of the day, they reported out like how they were feeling, how, in terms of stress and well-being and anxiety, like what was going on. And I don't know. I don't know if it's surprising, but it does reaffirm something that I have felt to be true for a long time. So here are the 7. And I'm going to throw these over each one at a time. I'm going to throw them over to you, Andi, just to kind of talk about, does this happen in your group and to what degree? So the first type of conversation that he's calling healthy conversation is catching up. When you call a friend and you catch up. So is there much catching up happening in your What If Up circle?
There's a ton of catching up happening in our What If Up circle. For one thing, we're conscious co-creators, and so a lot happens for us in a week. And so that's always fun to catch up, to find out what happened in everybody's life. But we also have a lot of people that don't come all the time, but they come when they can. And so that's a big catch up for us too, as far as just saying hi and catching up.
Yeah. Haven't seen you in a while. So, what if this week we reach out to a friend that we haven't seen in a while and we catch up? We share what we're into and what we're doing and connect in that way. So catching up is powerful. I love in our What If circles, we intentionally, as part of our circle, there's a check-in where we share wins. And I love catching up in terms of what's working in your life, because a lot of times the catching up is let me catch you up on all the things that went wrong since the last time I saw you. And in our community, we're very intentional about catching up in a positive way. Like, these are the good things that are happening, which I think is also a key to well-being and happiness. So that's number 1, catching up. Number 2 is meaningful talk. So it's kind of ambiguous, but what does that mean to you, and how do you see that show up in your What If circle?
Well, meaningful talk, and that is something that just happens in a What If Up circle or What If circle, because we're talking about the things that we want, and that's not in a normal. Well, I'm going to say normal. It is healthy, but it doesn't tend to happen in our just passing by or online or on a Zoom, where you get to the things that you really want, because that's really close to your heart, and that's something that when we talk about that thing, sometimes that just opens people up. And sometimes it takes a little while, and we build trust and we get there, but we do get there, and so it's easier and easier to share.
Yeah, I love, it's one thing to get together and talk about, oh, it's cold outside, and have those weather types of conversation. But I really love to be in an environment. And sometimes having that framework where it's like, here's the intention. We're going to come together and we're going to talk about the things that matter to us. We're going to talk about the things we want, and supporting each other in that way. Those are my favorite types of conversation. Those fuel me. So I love What If Up circles, because I love that type of meaningful conversations happening. Okay, here's number 3. Here's the third type of conversation that the study, sent out these college students, like, try this. The third one was joking around. Joking around. So is there much of that happening in your group? What do you see in that in terms of what you're leading with your What If circle?
Well, certainly in our group, there's a lot of joking around. I am also I'm a laughter yoga leader, and so I kind of joke around a lot. And we have cheers, and we say, we joke around and we have fun. And the more you get to know people, the easier it is to hey, you What If Up that. I remember you What If Up that like 3 weeks ago, so it's here. And you get to know each other really well.
I love it. And especially, you mentioned laughter, and I know you do laughter yoga, and like just being in an environment that's fun, that's playful, where you can laugh. Sometimes the what if ideas, I love it when a group, it doesn't always happen, but sometimes the ideas get really unrealistic in a way that is, I've seen groups literally get to the point where they can't even speak because they're laughing so hard. And that's really, it feels good. It's like in your body healing, isn't it? Just like laughter, so powerful. So joking around. Yeah, it's a joyful experience. And we have a lot of fun and try not to take ourselves too seriously, because it's the playfulness and the joy that that's really the power of it. And that's the key to well-being. I also love that the joking around is not self-deprecating, and it's not at someone else's expense. Because I think sometimes when we think of joking around, we think of like, kind of punching at each other a little bit, and that's not what we do. So it's
Well, yeah, and sometimes we have to kind of, we're in maybe a heavy conversation or somebody is having a problem, but we kind of shift through that and enlighten it, and it does create this levity, and then we can go from this kind of a heavy place to a lighter place, and it was
yeah.
feels really good.
Yeah, so you can be intentional with that. So I love that. So joking around, another type of conversation. The next one is um, showing care for each other. So how does that show up with your group?
Well, people come to the group, yeah, our regulars and everybody, there's something that they want. And so if there's something that they want, it's something that they feel they don't have. And the group just, it's just a very loving environment where we say, well, what if you went for a walk? And it's a lot of these self-care ideas, just possibilities, and it just expands. It expands the problem to it diffuses the problem, and
Yeah.
it's helpful. And so it's not coaching, advising, or fixing, because it's not you should. It's like, well, what if you just took a nap?
Yeah. Yeah. Permission to take care of yourself. Ideas about self-care. I love that. And I love that, sometimes I have people come into a group for the first time, and in our what if circles, everyone has a spotlight turn. So everybody gets to share what they want, and then have the group fully put their attention on, what ideas can I share with you that would help you? What ideas can I share with you that would help you? And I think that's a pretty unusual thing. I've had people say they had never, ever experienced anything like that before, where there's a group of people, even if only for a couple minutes, a group of people is solely focused on helping you get the thing that you want, no matter what it is. You put it out there, and we're going to give you our best ideas. Just pretty beautiful. So showing care, that's one of them, one of these 7 types of communications. And so these are communication styles that were dubbed healthy communication styles as part of the study through the University of Kansas. And the study was really like, which one's most effective? Which one's going to give you the greatest sense of happiness and the greatest sense of well-being? So the next one, there's 7 of them total. Number 5 is listening. Listening as a form of healthy communication. So talk about listening and how that shows up in your group.
Well, there is practice in listening, because the person is expressing what it is that they want, and we're listening to them and what they're wanting, and helping them sometimes to find some clarity around those things, because a lot of times people don't even know what it is that they want. And so we're listening as a group, and so we're practicing listening, because a lot of times we don't listen very well, but we're practicing listening. And sometimes around that, we what if up clarity for somebody around just a topic. And so we are listening and they are listening. So we're all listening together, and we're listening for the thing that's going to give enthusiasm, because of course that's where the energy is, and that's where it's going to flow, and it just feels like magic.
It is. It is. I love this sense of listening to the words, obviously, listening to the desire, but also like the deep listening of what's the thing that's going to create that enthusiasm. Sometimes people will put things out there that you can just tell it's gonna weigh them down, and the idea is that you can feel like the heaviness. So really being able to listen to the energy, to listen at a deeper level is, that feels really good, to be the listener as well as to be listened to. So that's one of these healthy communication tactics, to get together with a friend and just listen to each other.
And we're listening to ourselves. We're listening
And
to
listening to
ourselves.
yourself. Yeah,
because there's so
listening to
many
yourself.
times we haven't voiced what it is that we want, and we
Yeah,
haven't said these things out loud.
yeah,
And so when that's
yeah.
a powerful thing, when we hear ourselves have to come to clarity about something that we do want.
I have
Mhm.
found sometimes listening to myself is easier when I don't know if you've ever done this, but if I have someone I can bounce an idea off of,
Mhm.
like literally I bounce the idea off, and when it comes back to me, that's when I can feel, is it like if I'm telling myself, should I do this or should I do that? And someone says, you should do this or you should do that. One of them will feel better than the other. So sometimes just being in an environment like this, it does help us listen to ourselves and pay attention to what we're feeling called to do. So great point. All right. So the sixth one is valuing others and valuing their opinions, even if bum bum bum, even if they're different, even if they're different. So what shows up for you in your group around valuing each other?
Well, it's a circle, and everybody is coming from a different perspective. Of course, it's a very multifaceted group, and these are all just what if suggestions. So we get to hear everybody's lean, I guess it is, or their take on some things, and if we all have some biases, and you can hear a little bit of the shift happening sometimes where people because somebody it wasn't a direct I think this, you think that, so there's a little bit of a opportunity to to just kind of merge a little bit with maybe come a little bit more to center on some things, and not a oppositional way. It's just an inspired way because you feel that enthusiasm. You're like, that's really not a bad idea. I mean, I've
Yeah.
always thought I was against this or that, but I kind of see the other side of things now.
Yeah. When it's thrown out as a possibility, sometimes it helps us to see different perspectives in ways that don't feel like we're under attack. We don't feel like it's judgmental. It's just, here's what if we look at it this way? What if we look at it that way? So,
Yeah, and we don't
yeah,
have to
that's valuable.
change. We don't have to change what we think, but we can see a little bit more of how they're operating, and
Yeah.
just have compassion there, or maybe inspiration.
Yeah, and I think that having those different ideas and different people who think differently than us, that is valuable. Like to be appreciative of people who have the courage to say something that may be out of the norm for a circle, like to throw it out there as an idea so that we can expand our mind, expand our thinking a little bit.
Mhm.
So valuing others and valuing their opinions and even our differences. In fact, really diving in, like what can we learn by seeing things in a different way? And the final of these 7 communication styles is offering sincere compliments. So talk about the culture of your group and how that might show up in a what if circle.
Oh, well, everybody, they come in and they get it. Usually, we're a very loving group, and everybody gets a hug, and oh, you look really pretty in that color, or so it's just a genuine exchange
Yeah.
of compliments, because you get to see each other. You haven't seen each other in probably a week or maybe a little bit more, and
Mhm.
so it's just yeah. So that's just a natural thing.
Yeah, I
Compliment.
love that because in this study in particular, what they did was they took these college students and they said, okay, today, call a friend and offer sincere compliments. And there's something about that. It's like it's kind of hard to make it a sincere compliment when that's when your task is, your assignment is. But I agree, like when you have a positive, healthy culture, that having sincere compliments and having positive conversation and acknowledging each other is natural. It's just what happens when your culture is healthy because that's what happy, healthy people do is support
It
each other that way.
it does. It
So
creates an environment where it's easy to compliment each other. I mean, it's just a natural thing in our environment.
yeah, and the more that's in the culture, the more people will do that. It's like the better it gets, the better it gets. And same with the opposite. The more
Mhm.
people complain, the more people complain. So offering sincere compliments is a way of creating healthy conversation. So the study that came out through the University of Kansas was looking at when people have healthy conversations, what is the impact on happiness and well-being? And so they took these students, they said, here, try one of these 7. And then at the end of the day, reflect on your levels of stress, your levels of well-being, your levels of happiness. How was your day? And what they found, which I think is so fascinating, is that it didn't really matter. It didn't really matter which of the 7 types of conversation they engaged with. The fact that they reached out to a friend, that seemed to be the thing that mattered the most. Like, it doesn't matter if you're joking around or if it's compliments and positive environment. It's all like healthy conversation. It doesn't matter what kind of healthy conversation it is, as long as you are reaching out to a friend, that seemed to be the biggest thing. And then the second piece of this, which I thought was, well, before I talk about that, let me go back to you, Andi, and just say, the reaching out, the showing up, the being consistent. What do you notice for people who are doing that, who are taking the risk and stepping out and being there week after week? What do you see in terms of the impact that has in people's lives?
Well, it's kind of like it's a date with yourself. Like it's in a very intentional time where you're going to show up and this is what you're going to do. So I feel like we're very cooperative component with ourselves and with God, because and that just amplifies everything. And so we're as a group, we're saying we're going to come together and we're going to collectively help each other, and we do. And it just expands. It's really incredible. It's exhilarating to come together in a group. So yeah.
Well, and that brings me to the final point of this study, which is so they did this study and then they pulled up some research that was prior to the study. This study, by the way, was done pre-pandemic. It was done during lockdown, and it was done post-pandemic. So, that's a pretty wide range of experiences. And what they found is the more you do it, the better your well-being is. So reach out to a friend today and you will feel better by the end of the day, is basically what the study found. And the more you do it, the more happiness, the more well-being you experience. The other thing they found is that it seemed to matter that it was in person. So I know sometimes we had this whole, couple years span where that just wasn't even an option. But when it is an option, meeting in person has a different impact than a text or, a social media post or something like that. So being on tech, it's better than nothing. But in terms of really creating happiness and well-being, at least one in person seems to be the key. So what do you find, Andi? I know you've done both because we all went through this pandemic together. So you've been online, you've been in person. What do you like? What do you find about meeting in person that just can't be replicated any other way?
Oh gosh. Well, and so that it is interesting that I know that What If Up was intended to be always an in-person thing, but when we started it, when I joined, it was right at the beginning of the pandemic. So it was just everything and everybody shipped online. And so we had this online experience. Then my church had a need and we filled it with an actual What If circle in person. So that was my first situation with that. And I do find that there is definitely like a resonance that happens when you are in person, and there's just more that you can feel from the other people as far as where they are and how they're feeling. And it's kind of like when you know you're going to have a coffee date with a friend and you show up and you feel great after your meeting. So we have that scheduled. So it's a coffee. It's one where there's not even any coffee involved. It's like we have it scheduled. It's part of our it's part of what we do. And one thing that I know that couldn't have happened that has happened is sometimes we have people walk in the door and then they just breathe like, oh, I'm here. I made it through this week and oh, I'm just so happy to be among friends. And I don't know that could happen when you sit down in front of a Zoom and see your buddies on camera. It's like you just walk into that field, like we're all there just loving on you. And it's just this relaxation, this sigh of, okay, I made it another week. Let's say we're here and I'm excited. And yeah.
Yeah, it really is. As you're talking about that, it really is an act of self-care. Those, going and meeting with friends and being in that positive environment and supporting each other and caring for each other and having fun and joking around and all these different things that happen, this soup of, all these spices, all the flavors that we bring into a What If Up circle. And I love that by doing it on an ongoing basis, you don't have to even go out of your way. It's like, here's the thing, and it's on the calendar, and I do it week after week after week. So
it's part of the identity now is, this, we meet on Wednesdays and we have What If Up, and that's what we do.
Who you are, and it's what you do. So for those of you who are not part of the What If Up Club, we do have online things. So we don't have circles in every city in America yet. You can join us online. You can get a feel for our teachings and our culture, and we do have online events. And that's sometimes for people, it's a comfortable way to get started, is like tap into something locally and to test it out, see how it works, see how it feels. The invitation, really, if you do not have something like this already in your life where you're connecting with people on a regular basis in a positive environment, if you don't have that framework, that kind of support system around you, and you're looking for something that is going to like max you out in terms of increased happiness, increased well-being, I'm going to throw down an invitation to check out our Circle Leader training. And bring a small group to your local community. And a small group can be you and a couple friends that meet at a coffee house, or a small group can be like what you're doing, Andi. So talk about, like, your small group is meets at the church. So it could be church friends. It can be entrepreneurial. It can be, networking with friends. It can be anything you want it to be. Usually there are at least 3 people, no more than about 10. So it's not like you're creating a whole organization. You're just getting together and building those relationships. So over the course of your time with your group, how would you describe what the relationship has been with the people who've been in that circle, who've been active in that circle?
The relationships, we're always there. The relationships definitely have gotten deeper over time, because you do get through a lot of superficial things, because a lot of people come to it at the beginning and they're not really wanting to get too deep with themselves. But over time, we all know each other, and we know where our struggles are, and we know how to love and support each other. And so it does deepen the relationships. I think we've got maybe about 4 or 5. There's 5 of us or so that they're always there, and the others kind of float in and out, and it's just perfect. It's always perfect. It's always the perfect group of people. It's everybody just shows up. It's always in divine time.
Yeah, I love it. So it's such a great opportunity to come together and to have those relationships that deepen. You're creating a safe space as a circle leader. So if anyone is watching this and you're thinking, I would like to start a circle near me, I would like to learn more about that, put circle leader or something like that in the comments, and I'll follow up with you and give you some more information about how to do that. For you personally, Andi, what do you think has been the best thing for you in terms of being a circle leader? What do you gain out of it?
Well, I know that helping other people get what they want is the fastest, easiest, most joyful way for me to get what I want. And so I have really moved through some big blocks in just my life, and I'm totally different now. And I really like helping to connect people. That's just what I do. I'm a networker. And so this is a fantastic networking tool on so many levels. Because it's serving, it's giving first. It's a fun thing to talk about. There are all kinds of levels to be involved with it, as far as just, you can plug in a little bit, or you can go all in head first like me, or it's a fun thing to think about, and it's a fun thing to just offer to anybody. It's like, well, what if you do this? And people don't even know. And I love seeing the ripples of the duplication. So anything I do in life, I love for it to duplicate. And I see it automatically, easily duplicate with people who've just maybe showed up even maybe a couple of times and visited. And I hear back that they have had this ripple effect where they're what if upping with their husband, their kids are saying what if, and that just generates these ripples throughout the whole world. So from our little bitty church in Brazoria, Texas, a little unity church that creates this ripple effect across the entire world. How awesome is that?
It's amazing. It's amazing. It's really beautiful to see. So that brings us to this week's challenge. And every week we lay down a challenge tied to our What If Wednesday conversation. So this week it makes sense to say the challenge is reach out to a friend and have one of these, or, a what if up. You can what if up with them because it kind of encapsulates all of these, but have a healthy conversation with a friend. And like the next level challenge is do it in person. So if you are at all able, if you've got someone locally that you can meet up with in person, meet with a friend and have a healthy conversation. Then snap a photo, do a selfie, post it in our challenge. And at the end of the week, these are 7-day challenges. So anytime between now and next What If Wednesday, you can post your photo for a chance to win. And I'm just going to give you a tip on our challenges. You post your photo and that gets you into the challenge. The winners are chosen by an algorithm that I haven't quite figured out what it is yet, but it seems to be tied to engagement. So post what you're working on, but also go in and post on other people's photos and share your comments and share your possibilities and share your what ifs, not only for the chance to win, because it's always fun, but because it makes you feel good, because that's a healthy conversation and it will help you feel better at the end of the day. So our prize for this week for our challenge, it's like a phone a friend, but don't phone them. Go have a coffee date, a coffee chat, meet up with a friend. And the winner for next week is going to receive what? Andy, what do you have on tap for our winner?
We're going to receive an entire sleeve of 30 days of X39, which is a stem cell activating phototherapy patch that helps to repair and rejuvenate your entire body. And they're just little stickers. I call them magic stickers. You just stick them on and they help you to repair and rejuvenate. It's your own light reflected back to you at a frequency.
Very cool. So you don't have to be sick. You don't have to have an aches or pains. It'll just help you, give you an energy boost. But if you do have aches or pains, can you like put the little sticker on your sore elbow or your,
You can. Some people do. My son, every time he twists his ankle or something like that playing basketball, he'll stick one on, and it does just alleviate it. But yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you, Andy, for offering that up. One of the products that you offer through your business. So thank you for that. That's the prize this week. And there'll be more information about that in our What If Up Club. Join at whatifup.org if you're not a member. And of course, reach out if you're interested in starting a local group as well. So that being said, last week's challenge, there's about an hour left on last week's challenge. It was a high vibe challenge with Lisa Winston. Prize for last week's challenge is some custom artwork by Lisa Winston that's infused with positivity and high vibrations. I took on the challenge by painting my studio, painting my office. It was white last week. It's green this week. Thank you, Lisa. You inspired me. And I am just like feeling it feels like a forest in here. So I am loving that. Love to hear what you did for the high vibe challenge last week. There's still a little bit of time to get in your post from that as well. So reach out to a friend, get together in person, have a healthy conversation. That is the challenge for the week. Thank you, Andy, for joining and for all that you're doing with our community to bring people together and to What If Up together. It's great to have you here.
Thank you. It's been great to be here.
Great to have you, and thanks for coming in. Thanks everyone for tuning in and for being here for our What If Wednesday live streams. Great to have you here. We look forward to seeing you next week and connecting with you all week long in our What If Up Clubhouse. Have a great week, and we'll see you soon.